You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Walking Dead After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Walking Dead After Show.
Hey guys, and welcome back. Welcome back to The Walking Dead live bait after show. We thought Nando and Derrial hadn't made it, but it looks like you guys survived. You guys were really sick. You guys were bleeding out of the eyes, but luckily
the medicine came.
The medicine came.
The medicine came just in time.
Derrial hooked us up.
Oh man, good thing. So across from me, the lovely Kristin Carole.
Hey guys.
And next to him, the also lovely Derrial Kristin.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
And look at that hat.
That's
Love
right.
that hat.
That's right. It's my apocalypse hat right here.
The
apocalypse hat? Yeah, look good in the end of the world.
And next to me, the lovely Nando Velasquez.
Thank you. Thank you for calling me lovely, too.
You're welcome.
Thank you for giving me the exact same title I gave everyone else.
You're welcome. Hey, last time you complained because I didn't, so...
That's true. I'm never happy.
There you go. What is this, the zombie apocalypse? Are you David Morrissey now?
If he wants to look good, I can do whatever I want.
Start growing beards, you guys.
I think so.
That's a good idea. And guys, I'm Dave Klein, currently going to start the trend of growing a beard.
That's true.
For The Walking Dead. But speaking of beards...
November, yeah.
It's Movember.
It is Movember. So speaking of beards and all that, the governor is back, and he will soon look like a lumberjack. But first, it's literally right after... It takes place immediately after this third season with the governor having just murdered everyone from Woodbury. And he's off with Martinez and the other henchman whose name I don't believe we know.
Sherbert? I think it's not
Sherbert.
Shembert, I think, or something. I looked it
like
up.
the name Sherbert.
I like Sherbert.
I
think
hope
that's
it's
more
Sherbert.
original.
I'm just kidding.
With the guy, Sherbert.
Well, and it was sad because all of a sudden you get a shot of Alan. You know, they brought in people that we were somewhat connected to at first. You know, just to remind us previously on The Walking Dead.
Hey, remember those horrible things the governor did that you might have forgotten about by now? They still happened.
It's Shumpert, according to IMDb.
Shumpert.
It's Shumpert.
Shumpert.
Yes. Just had to say that because it's so funny.
Shumpert. That's a crazy name. Well, I guess since they never had to say the name, they could name him whatever they wanted.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I want to name someone Shumpert. So he goes camping, and he's just sitting there completely zoned out, probably in awe of what he just did, and can't even really function. Just watches a walker slowly walk up to him, trip over a bonfire, because walkers are such idiots. Trip over a bonfire and just start burning up, and then Martinez has to come and take care of it.
Well, do you think him watching it was just he was still in shock, or maybe he has sort of a death wish now? I mean, he did all of this. The Philip of yesteryear before all of this happened, obviously, was just this guy that went to work every so often and wasn't the head of a town and didn't have people rebel against him, and then he killed everyone. I mean, there's a lot of shock going on, and I wonder if that was him kind of, I don't want to do anything, or if he just didn't care anymore.
He
I think he
doesn't
just didn't care.
I felt he didn't care.
There's a difference between the death wish he has and or if he has one, and what Tyrese kind of had a couple episodes.
He had enough
do.
guns that if he had a death wish, he could have fulfilled that pretty quickly.
Yeah,
So Tyrese is looking for it, and the governor's like, if it happens, it happens.
Right.
He's just shocked, yeah.
And then it was just interesting to watch Martinez when he did shoot the walker. Him just like it was like he was disgusted in the governor at that moment. You know, it's like he was just really disappointed.
Yeah.
He had a face of disappointment.
This was his leader. Now
It was his leader. It's like he's his weakling now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, how could you not be disappointed though, in general after that?
Yeah.
You'd think, but yeah. So just he wakes up the next morning and they've just completely abandoned him, completely left him on his own. But we're nice enough to leave him with the truck, so he does have a truck to go trucking on, and it plays that sort of depressing music as he's riding around. And there's that wall that has all this writing on it that actually ends up being pretty important, because the name that he ends up taking is actually written all over that wall. So kind of a good catch. I believe actually one of you guys caught it. I didn't catch it immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Nando, I think.
Yeah, I think it's Nando.
So that was a great catch on that.
Brian Harriet.
Yeah, that's his new name. At least with the crowd that he runs into now.
Yeah,
so.
And then it had all those other things like "Do Not Go Home" and all those different pieces of names.
What I feel
displayed on that.
That whole scene too set set for the rest of set the stage for the rest of the episode, because it was a very slow moving, except when he's, you know, trying to get the oxygen tanks. It was a very slow episode.
For sure.
I feel like we're all kind of a level lower because there wasn't a whole lot. There was a lot going on in terms of his character development, but there wasn't a whole lot going on. It wasn't like last week's episode where you come back and you're like, "Oh man, can you believe that happened?" This was definitely
considering how last week's episode ended. I will say this. I don't say this too often. I was a little disappointed with the pacing of this episode.
It was very slow. It was a very slow episode.
Yeah, and especially because we got like such a build up in the preview. So it was, you know, I mean, I understood that they needed to really explain the story of like his kind of transition from Woodbury to where he is kind of right now. But you're right, it just was very slow.
It seems like and you guys talked about this on the show, they're really trying to make this character more likable again and more human, and almost trying to turn him around. And I'm almost thinking, and maybe this isn't really prediction, but I'm almost thinking it's likely that he'll almost might want to join the prison group eventually down the line. Crazy prediction, I know.
That's a crazy prediction.
But I mean, it seems like now that he has this girl that he cares about by the end. But we'll get to it later, and I'll talk about that more later.
Somebody actually wrote on YouTube, like, wouldn't it be interesting if he joined the prison group? And
I was going to actually read that comment, and we'll read that at the
sorry.
end. That's all right. We'll read it right now.
I'm just jumping on top of that.
No, it's all good. You picked that up. That was actually Alexandrine Sybil saying how interesting it would be if the governor ends up joining the people at the prison.
It does look like they're going to maybe go that route.
I actually think that could be possible. But a lot of people in the chat saying that, kind of talking about the way the governor looked, and a lot of the things that we were kind of talking about while we were watching. 1800, the Drew saying the governor looks like Tom Hanks in Castaway, which I know we were
saying Kurt Russell in Escape from New York.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were thinking. And apparently, that's what Chris Hardwick said. Whatever, Chris Hardwick.
We didn't listen to him, just so you guys know.
About Kurt Russell?
Great minds.
About Kurt Russell. That's just because it really did look like that.
Hardwick. No.
And Brent Henry thinking that Gov kind of looked like Danny Trejo in the comics. In the comics, yeah, he does look like Danny Trejo in the comics.
He looks in the comics. He looks more Latino in the comics.
But I mean, like in this moment, he really looked a lot like Kurt Russell with the beard. But he ends up, now that he has this beard and everything, he's more disheveled looked. There's a girl peeking out the window as he comes up to this truck that's very, very obviously showing Gorbelly in that logo, making it very prominent, like that's going to be something important on the truck as you see the girl peeking out the window at him. And he ends up going up to the apartment where she is, to where this family lives. This family of trusting people.
Somewhat.
3 ladies and their dad/grandpa.
Yeah, I still, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I still was a little disturbed that he was outside and it was light out when he was looking at the little girl, and then when he goes in, it's so dark. And I know, Kristin, you had mentioned that maybe he passed out, but if he had passed out, wouldn't someone from the house or from like the little girl's mom or her sisters would have seen him?
Yeah, but would they have done anything? Because they don't know who this guy is.
True.
They've been stuck in this apartment for a long time. I feel like we're at the point now where you don't trust everybody.
Yeah.
Or did he pass out and he was going to die and turn into one of them? That you don't want to go out there for sure.
Yeah,
now, here's the thing to me that I was really boggling my mind. I mean, I kind of called immediately that I didn't think Tara was a police officer because she looked so young to me. But the other thing that was really throwing me off was that how is it possible that at this point, it's been about a year, that they have been surviving this long and they still don't know how to properly kill a walker?
Yeah.
To survive this long.
To see the baseball bat. Yeah, the first thing she was holding was, and she just didn't look like she could use it.
Yeah, but I mean, they're saying like, oh, she tried shooting them and they kept on getting up and all that. But I mean, you think that eventually she'd try shooting them at the head at some point in time?
At some point, you would do that.
You'd think she would try that. So that was kind of boggling my mind. That was kind of, for me, a bit of a plot hole. But
it was kind of like the prisoners in last season when they were doing the prison riot scene.
But at the same time, there's a reason they didn't know, because they've been locked away in prison.
Yeah, these people should be around more, unless Don, their father, did all the killing.
Well, it sounded like Tara was doing the killing or trying to, and you think after enough attempts, she would at least once try to shoot them in the head.
Well, how long was she in the academy for? I think that's the first question, in terms of maybe her aim's just not that good.
But
and then she
once one falls on the ground, you'd be like, I'm just going to shoot you in the dead and hopefully you'll save
I would think that she would at least have shot one at that point.
Yeah, probably.
Or possibly they said that it sounded like the dad said there were a few of them upstairs, so maybe she just became overwhelmed, and that's not really good practice when you have a few zombies coming at you. So, maybe you get one, but then there's one there, and if you're younger and you're inexperienced, I'm just trying to help her out. Alana Masterson, who plays her, she's super nice.
Look, as Nando said while we were watching, they just need a man in their life.
And the room goes silent.
And you can send your hate mail too.
And his email
Yes.
is
Twitter at.
Twitter at.
So Tangy D on the chat saying, I don't know why they're trying to humanize him. The governor, it didn't work when they had Andrea saying it all last season. But it really does seem like, to me, he seems like a completely changed man because he's so in shock of what he did. He does seem like a different person. I'm not saying you should trust him or forgive him for what he did, but it does seem like he is a different person.
Yeah.
People don't change that quickly.
I mean,
He's always going to be in there. It's just going to be interesting to see when that comes
incubating.
out.
Yeah.
Well, and he's starting to treat, little Maggie like Penny. I mean, I just think.
Yeah.
But
gonna
for
be a
any
problem.
change though, that for him to be involved with the little girl, that would be the one thing that probably would change him though, if he was theoretically.
So-
gonna
Here's the
change.
thing about the governor, though. Governor, I think, always you don't never look at a villain as that's what they think they are. They always think they're doing what's good for them. And
Yeah.
he thought he was doing what's good for Woodbury. What he did that final episode was him snapping.
Yeah.
And this is the result of him snapping.
Yeah,
He,
I
he
mean,
just
he
kind of
even-
fell back into some deep pit where he's shell shocked. So he believe it or not, in his own mind, he's a good man at heart.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that needs to be remembered.
I mean,
And-
he even says that to the girl in an explanation to Megan when he's explaining to Megan what happened. But let's go ahead and go back to I'm doing my rewind motion here. Go back to when they first come in.
Sure.
And the girls
Remix.
and the girls are
Yeah.
and the girls are interrogating him. And the governor, aka we know his name is Philip, and then that's when he tells them and lies them that his name is Brian Harriet, which is the name from
The barn.
the barn, as we'd mentioned before. And the other girl, Lily, who's the nice one. So bad cop, good cop. Tara's the bad cop in a way. Lily's the good cop. Lily comes and brings him a nice thing of SpaghettiOs. I guess they're actually spaghetti rings. Okay, don't comment and be like, no, they said the spaghetti rings. I know it is. They look like SpaghettiOs. They're just changing the name.
Dave just
for
likes
Gorbelli.
SpaghettiOs better. So he's
Because
hoping
well,
for them.
the governor doesn't, because he said F you, Chef Boyardee, and poured them out the window.
Yeah. He
That's
just,
the only reason I did that. I was just wanting to say that.
he just that was,
That was the
that was
whole
the build
reason.
up.
That was wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
It was a nice effort.
try, good
we'll
try,
give
good
you
try.
do something for
That's
that.
why people on YouTube say I'm not funny.
Oh.
But anyways, we see this thing that right away, though, it seems like there's something between them right in that moment. And I don't know if you guys picked up, but right when that happened, it seemed like Lily, to me, kind of had a thing for the governor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed that too.
Everybody's got a thing for the governor. Pretty
He's the
much,
man.
it seems like all the ladies.
Especially when it looks like a lumberjack. It's
Well,
the best look.
who was the last man they've probably seen that wasn't their father?
No, I
So
agree. Good point.
and wasn't a zombie.
Right.
Yeah, because that would be really weird.
So he ends up coming out and finding out a bunch of things. So we find out about the grandfather who's on an oxygen tank, wanting a cigarette, and it seems like he has stage 4 lung cancer, I believe,
Yeah.
Yes.
Stage 4.
which we end up finding out later. But he has stage 4 lung cancer. There's Tara, who is the police officer, as she says at the moment. There's Lily, who was a nurse.
And oncology. Yeah.
Yeah, oncology nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And then Megan, who is the daughter of Lily. And we find out eventually that her father ran away.
She hasn't really talked since then too much.
No, she hasn't at all. In fact,
I thought that was kind of weird, though, because she comes up to Lily at one point and goes, Mommy? It's like, well, she's obviously saying a
some
little
words, yeah.
bit, but
Yeah.
maybe just the fact, it made it sound like almost at first that she's not talking at all.
or it almost made it sound
But
like she
just
was
like
mute.
she's not talking at all, just like
Yeah.
the governor wasn't talking at the beginning. She wasn't eating. After he threw out the spaghettios, whatever you want to call it, they actually, Lily mentioned that Megan wasn't eating.
Sketty rings.
Yeah, so
Sketty
sketty
rings.
rings.
Well-
So they're pretty much matching. They're matching both of them together.
Well, Pat points out that the governor's on a low carb diet. So
Oh,
Exactly.
okay.
Keep
Yeah.
that.
No
Looked
need to
like
use that
it.
Corbelli truck that was the dad drove that was parked in the front.
You don't
Yeah.
want to have those extra pounds when you're fighting zombies. Yeah, totally.
amazing how long
away.
those supplies lasted, though, from all that truck. And I guess really, like, if that truck was fully loaded for 4 people, that would be a lot of food.
Well, and then who knows how much food they originally had in the apartment that they could
Yeah.
kind of ration out, or if they did have somebody go on runs beforehand. I mean, we don't know a whole lot about this group.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, hey, they gotta have loved to learn sketty rings by this point in time. Because that's all they're getting.
That's all they're getting.
I mean, you think about it, that's probably all the food they have, except for, like, the dad going on the beer run and then just disappearing. I mean, if there was any other food, it seems like that's literally all they have to eat is whatever Gorbelli's brand is.
Yeah.
So from the grandfather who's driving, who very clearly seems to care about his family, as he has this conversation with the governor, talking about like, oh, you don't understand, but once you have kids, you don't understand, governor, but when you have a daughter, that's when you turn into a man. And that's what means to become a man, is once you have that and you have to take care of them. And
then initially, didn't they ask the governor the question if he had a family? I believe I think it was one of the daughters, Lily or Tara, but he said no.
Yeah, so he lies about that along with his name. So the governor is requested to go find this backgammon set, and from Billy Jenkins, an old war vet buddy of the grandfather, only to find that he's shot himself. And I was kind of trying to figure out for a while. I'm glad they revealed it, but I find it interesting when you see the walkers and you can kind of analyze and try to figure out what way they died. Because before they showed the gun, it was very clear that there was something wrong with his face, where it was some upward blast and some sort of sensor, some heat had melted off the front of his face.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out, like, well, how did he die? That his face is kind of missing and his legs are gone, and so it seems like he's an amputee from the war, and then he shot himself.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of different walkers. You know, Greg Nicotero probably has like a long list of like, I want to make a walker like this. I want to make a walker like that. Yeah. So because we saw a bunch of like old people walkers today.
That was pretty cool. And then like Dave's point too, they were very specific in describing it. Like they showed his fake, what do you call the fake prosthetic legs that were laid out right in front of the bathtub as it was leading up to the actual walker. So that was a pretty cool detail.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like every walker having that detail of like, okay, what was their backstory? Yeah. It's a good touch. So good touches from Greg Nicotero there. So the governor goes to bed that night, pulling out a picture of his wife and kids, and folds up the part of himself, almost as if he's ashamed of himself or doesn't believe that's who he is anymore.
As he should be.
As he should be. I think I almost take it as like he's not that person anymore, and that's why he folded it up. That's kind of the way I was interpreting that, but what were your guys' interpretations of that?
I took it as he would never have that life again.
Yeah.
You know, that person that he was is no longer existent, so it's a part of his life that just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
We always say, you know, in terms of sometimes people say that the best of them is who they're, you know, married to or their child. And I think that's why he folded himself over, is because here are these two, in his mind, perfect people that didn't make it. And here he made it, and he is not that great of a person. And he is probably ashamed of himself. So I think that's why he was folding himself over.
The way I look at it, actually, it's really interesting. It looks like, it almost looks like he's looking at a map. Like when you're lost and you look at a map.
Yeah.
He's trying to get his way back there, and that's probably why in the end he ends up, after he scares Megan, he ends up burning it because he realizes he can't go back there again.
You're so deep, Nando.
I have my moments. You can send your love mail to. No, never mind.
Well, but it is nice that they ended up bringing that back throughout the episode, because it makes a bunch of appearances. Because immediately after that, that's when Lily walks in and sees that photo, and immediately grabs it because he doesn't want her to see this. And
so she falls in love with him more.
Because was a family man.
Yeah.
So he ends up telling her how to actually kill a walker, imparting some advice onto her, and we find out more about the dad. And as he's about to leave, as Lily comes to bring him some supplies, she requests for him to go to an old folks home because somehow he survived this long. It's the one thing that makes Megan happy is her grandfather, just something to make her survive longer. So, I mean, the governor, he has a lot of things to do. He's a pretty busy guy, but luckily he was nice enough to take some time out of his busy schedule to go to the old people's home and go grab some oxygen. So he ends up in this old people's home where we see a whole nother dose of different types of walkers here. And the interesting thing to me about this entire scene is that he seemed to refuse to kill any of them.
Yeah,
he tried to shoot one of them, and that didn't really work out very well.
But even like the beginning when he was walking past all of them, he could have
really
just
lame.
taken them out and just move forward. Like, okay, these guys won't bother me later on if I take them out.
I did laugh when he just closed the door on one of them. Like, oh, not gonna go in that room.
Maybe he just felt bad that they really were old people at one point. No, I'm sure that he.
But you know, for old people, I know some of them were orderlies, but for old people, generally they move a lot faster than old people probably would when they were alive.
Yeah, I agree.
So I thought that was really interesting.
I was just hoping during the scene where he closed the door and reaches out his hand, he's gonna face palm the guy like in football and just push the guy by his head, the walker over by his face.
Just Heisman him.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was hoping for, but it didn't quite happen. But he does end up getting into trouble because of not killing the walkers, and it ends up biting him in the ass. Not literally, because then all the oxygen tanks, because he has like 12 at his disposal there. He's only able to get away with 2 because all the walkers then start coming for him. So should have taken care of those when he had the chance.
Like I said, he was trying to shoot at one of them, but he didn't shoot the head, and then he just was trying to get out because there were, which is again funny, too many of them. But as we saw last season, I mean, he can handle himself with a bunch of walkers. When Andrea trapped him in that stairwell, he still made it out of there alive.
Took out walkers.
Yeah, he's just not there anymore. And again, that's just like, and people in the chat are saying that's almost like shell shock for him.
Oh, yeah, he still is, obviously.
Still walking around months later.
But he does end up coming back with 2. He manages to make it back with 2 of them. And we find out more about Lily in that scene, which is what we're talking about, being the oncology nurse. That's kind of where we find that out. And this is where we get the connection with Megan and the governor. And Megan actually coming in and having this scene with him, actually talking to him and finding out more about him. And this humane moment where he's telling her to promise not to say why he lost his eye, she asks, and jokes with her that he's a pirate. So kind of trying to be nice about it. But this moment when he explains his point of view.
He is kind of a pirate, if you want to be.
Yar.
He steals stuff from people. He's killed other people. He's had his fun with women.
He's no Jack Sparrow, but yeah.
Or Captain Hook.
Or Captain Hook, right.
Once Upon a Time.
I knew you were going to say that.
He has been plundering a lot of booty. Plundering a lot of booty there.
Apparently, got some more booty later on.
Yeah.
But he does end up saying his point of view from his perspective of what he was doing and his actions, at least with his daughter and how that whole scene was concerned, which is to him, he was trying to protect someone he loved very much. So that's how he, in his mind, what he was doing during that entire scene last season.
Well, if you think about it, he didn't want anybody,
absolutely.
Even though she was a
trying
walker.
To protect Penny the whole time.
Yeah, he didn't want anybody to touch her.
Yeah.
That's where he flips out,
So, no, absolutely. I totally agree with you. So, I wrote David Morrissey. I don't think it was the governor. I think it was David Morrissey. So the governor then starts playing chess with her, and there's this really bonding moment between them where he starts talking more. Now he's shaved. He doesn't look like a lumberjack anymore. And she kind of they have this chess conversation with, again, some more conversation for you to really dig into and analyze, which is about the king and the whole chess thing about him saying you can lose a lot of soldiers and still win the game, and the king's the one you want to capture. And that kind of indicates to me that Rick would be the king of the prison group, and he's the king of the Woodbury group. Exactly, and since he didn't get captured, in that sense, in the sense the war's not over. That's kind
he hasn't won the game
there.
yet, but yeah.
Right. The game's not over. The war's not over because he still wasn't captured, and the king's the most important piece.
But, it also says something to what he did in the last season. He killed a lot of soldiers.
Yeah.
He killed a lot of his people.
And I thought the usage of a chess game in that conversation, the way he was explaining, was genius, just because of the fact that chess is such a strategy driven game, and he comes from that the way he thinks. So it was a great reference to use the chess game in that scene too.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. So, again, great deep scene there in the sense of the correlations that you can make between everything happening on the show and chess in the way that he describes it. And her drawing the eye on him, the eyepiece.
Well, that she picked the king to put it on.
Yeah, she said, this looks like you, I think, when she pulled up the piece.
And then he knocked it over because he didn't have a beard anymore. And the king did have
a beard.
Her. Slapped her in the face.
Slapped her in the face. Yeah, totally.
That would be a different Walking Dead scene.
I would have really liked that.
We wanted that to happen.
Just to clarify, that didn't happen.
That did not
Last
happen.
week, Dave and I said something. Just want to clarify this one.
Oh yes,
happen.
we were.
I think the
joking.
only person who didn't get it was someone who hadn't seen the whole episode. Who was on the chat. It was just like, wait, did that really happen? I don't think they actually seen the whole show. It's very clear it didn't happen. So immediately after this bonding chess scene, the grandpa is dead. The grandfather is dead, and as you guys in the room were saying, watch out, he could come back in any time. And as you say that, as you guys were saying that, he does. He immediately starts pulling Tara in, and the governor quickly reacts, jumps in there, starts bashing him in the head with an oxygen tank, even though I think it was Lily trying to pull him off.
Yeah.
And he does it anyways, pushes her over so he can take care of this walker and protect everyone, freaking the hell out of Megan. So,
For Megan, she's going to be traumatized.
She will be. Clementine will remember this.
And then
That's a joke from our Megan, who's in the studio, who watched the show with us.
And I made this comment that I thought that the dad had turned really quickly, but you guys said that they had made.
They said he was out for a while. They don't know how long he was gone.
Yeah,
but he was gone.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, because it could have been a couple hours because they had no idea, as they were saying.
Well, walkers can come back at any time.
Yeah, it could
Within
take
minutes
any
to
amount of
hours.
time.
Yeah. So.
But so clearly he had passed away. They were correct in that
Yes, they were.
analysis. Good analysis.
I would have liked to have seen if the zombie dad still would have needed an oxygen tank though. I would have liked to have seen that. All of a sudden, I'm cured. I'm a zombie and I'm cured. That's,
Right.
Maybe
all you can
that
do.
is the cure.
He starts
That is the
coughing.
kid, right,
He
that
starts
is-
coughing a lot as a zombie. It would have been nice to see a little bit. You know?
It cures so many diseases.
Well, because like
I don't
we
get
saw,
colds anymore.
we saw last week the zombie that's still the walker that still had that mouth contraption that
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
up
it
to
was
him,
still-
so
that's
he
true.
didn't. You know, he didn't need it.
He didn't
Well,
do it.
hey, you
So
know,
I think he wouldn't need the oxygen. The dad would be.
Well,
be
that
cured.
yeah, but they had that to stop the blood from
Yeah.
collagen. Yeah, from.
But so then
blocking the artery.
obviously though,
So he
the
can't
blood
breathe.
had clogged it, so he had passed
passed
away.
away.
But
Yeah.
apparently that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, but cancer. But I would think cancer might be a slightly different. I'm just curious what a cancer zombie. Because a cancer zombie's kind of isn't that redundant? A cancer zombie? I don't know. It sounds
well,
weird.
technically, the one they just did was a cancer zombie.
Yeah, I guess so.
Technically.
I'm sure a lot of the old people homes were too. I'm sure.
Okay.
It's got
Yeah, that's true, too.
increasingly more morbid.
Geriatric
Yeah.
zombies.
Geriatric.
All sorts of zombies.
Let's bring this show really far down.
So that gore belly.
Really low.
So,
Zombies with different diseases. Let's analyze it. Okay, sorry.
oh, it's fine. So now Megan's afraid of the governor, but I keep wanting to say David Morrissey, but the governor walks in and Tara says she understands what he did and they're cool. You know, you got to pound it. That's how you
Gotta pound
indicate
it
you're
out.
cool.
And again, just to reiterate, that's when he burns the photo too, right after
Yeah,
after he realizes
immediately
Megan's scared
afterwards,
because he realizes how much of a monster he turned into at that moment. So yeah.
And he says he's going. He's done. He's leaving. And Lily forces herself on him. Not in that way. Not yet. Forces the family on to come with him. So,
Well, that's even weirder. Okay.
Yeah, but like we said, they haven't seen a man in a long time, you know?
yeah.
She must be in heat. No, just kidding.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
Hey, at least I was the one who said that.
I was like, I didn't want to
Are
say
you
it.
kidding?
Girl
Are
knows who said
are
that.
people
I'm
kidding
being
right now?
sarcastic.
Are we joking right now? Really? Can people tell? No, I'm kidding. No, now I said it.
No, we're being honest, right?
We're
As-
being
as a-
honest.
100%.
Seriously,
thought
people. Seriously, folks, try to veal.
Just saying what the men are thinking. That they can't say.
Maybe. So they're all now on the road again. And Tara starts admitting to the governor that she lied and that she's not a cop. She was, in fact, in the academy, and I so called that during the episode because she looked like a little kid. She looks like a kid. But anyways, she was in the academy training. She never fully finished becoming a cop. Governor's still not telling his story, though, to her. He didn't say that's okay because I lied. He's still not admitting at least his name. He still doesn't. They still don't know his name. They still think he's Brian.
Yeah.
Or maybe he wants to be thought that way. Maybe, and I think that could be the case too. I think he wants to be this new person.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think that the burning of the picture, him changing his name, it's all in reference to the transition of him not wanting to be the former person that he was or not able to be that former person.
And the only person he confided in really was Megan, to a very small extent.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So just totally moving on, forgetting who that old person was. So starting fresh. But
Well, he wants to be liked, I think, too. That's the thing. He just scared Megan off. I think he doesn't want to scare everybody else off, too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think they'd want to hang out with him once they learn that.
I don't
hey,
think
he killed
anyone
half of
really-
the people.
But
in
that's
the
Yeah.
okay
village.
because Lily, after this, in the truck together, pretty excited.
That was so gross because her daughter and her sister are right there. That creeped me out.
Listen, it's
That
been a
creeped
long
me out
time.
than
people
more
have
of the other
needs
stuff
in
in
this
Walking
zombie
Dead.
apocalypse.
People has needs.
People have needs.
They had a certain shot of a certain body part like showing at him, and I was just
You
like,
could say it.
You could say
it's
it.
not. It's
her
PG.
boob.
Well,
Well, we used the word
one
nipples
part of
earlier,
yeah
I
Her
think.
nipple.
nipple
I'll
was
just
a
say
little.
nipple.
Yeah.
I'll say it.
She
With a
was
little perk.
excited, okay? This is an exciting moment.
And it was cold
It was
outside.
good acting. It was
cold
good
at
acting on
night.
her part. She actually
Yeah.
got really motivated.
Yeah, it was good acting.
Yeah,
No,
it's
no,
really-
they have like ice people for that.
Do they?
I know somebody.
But do you really think they went all the way or they just made out? That's what I'm
Good
saying.
acting on her body's part.
I
Overall.
think they went all the way. If this was HBO, they would have gone all
I'm
the way.
they went
really
all the way.
hoping they
Same,
just
same.
made out, but I tend to think they did go all the way, which
all the
is so gross.
Listen, they were just they were quiet. No one heard anything.
You see Megan already traumatized from the governor, and she's just like
She's
looking
like,
off
"What is
camera,
this?
like
well,
what?
now
Why are
maybe she
you
saw that
attacking
and
my
she's
mom?
like, "Daddy,
Why are you
this
attacking my
means
mom?
we're all
Right.
family now."
Talk about an
right?
Oedipus Rex.
I just imagined her sitting Indian style, watching the whole thing in shock.
Indian style.
Indian style.
That's even
So
more
you
wrong,
do when you're a
Dave.
kid. I know it is.
Oh man.
I feel like I need to watch like a palate cleanser after that.
Let's pull it back. So afterwards, the morning after.
The morning after.
The
morning after.
They're doing the walk of shame together. The whole family's doing the walk of shame together.
The car's
because the car's broken down.
not starting. It's probably like, I'm not taking this family anywhere else.
Yeah, they're done with that. So yeah, the car is not starting, so they're walking along. Megan's staying in the back because she's still traumatized by the night before and everything else. But the governor up in front ahead of everyone, and he sees this walker horde coming up towards them, and immediately tells them to run towards the forest instead of run away, the opposite direction, which I was kind of surprised by. I was thinking you'd turn around before they see you. So they start running towards the bushes for the forest area, and Megan, just still traumatized, not moving, drops her stuff, not wanting to move. And at this moment, too, we have, and this could be important next episode, Tara is injured. Tara's hurt her foot, and Lily has to help her out. So Tara's injured, and
it
Lily's
looks like
kind of dragging her
something
along.
maybe she had before and just aggravated it.
Yeah,
Is
because
that
her
what you
fall
caught
wasn't
from
that
it?
severe.
No.
I mean, she tripped over the suitcase.
I mean, it
right?
could have just been like she hurt her ankle. Could have been something as simple as that. Like, I mean, I go on runs, and sometimes I twist my ankle.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
To a smaller extent, maybe she really badly.
I was just thinking in terms of their slight conversation, it almost seemed like this had happened before. 'Cause she's like, "Let me help." No, I got it. Now it could just be because they're sisters, but I read into it that maybe she had an issue with this before. I could definitely be wrong.
So, Bahaha Val, by the way, agreeing with you, Kristin, that the whole thing was so gross and they must be really deep sleepers.
Thank you. I hope they had like some of that nighttime NyQuil or something to knock them out.
I just wanted to bring that back. Bring you guys in on the chat. So then in this moment, the governor starts calling her like a dog, calling Megan over. Come here. Come
You're
here.
good, Megan. I got a treat for you.
Megan. And she finally ends up running to him for him to rescue her, probably recalling the fact that he mentioned the eye thing, and that conversation's got to resonate with her. And Clem and I will remember this moment of the eye patch and the fact that that's how he got it, was protecting someone he loved. So she runs up to him. He pulls her and starts running with her when he trips into a random trench in the ground out of nowhere. Apparently there was some war being fought, so they built a giant trench here.
Well, I know we had maybe discussed while we were watching
it.
That was
where
close
they
to
burn. Yeah, because
Woodbury, where they
Woodbury had
cut
the
them.
zombie
where they
pits
put
too.
the zombies.
And that's probably why he directed them into the woods, going, "Hey, I know." Well, hopefully he knew that area pretty well, except for where he kept the zombies in the pit.
Right.
But hey, I know generally where we are, so I know this can be a safe place to go this direction.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get injured when he fell in that pit too. I was like, that's a pretty hard fall.
Yeah, it's harder than the fall that
the sister,
Tara took.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But
so
he
that's
survived this long.
That's when the governor
true.
starts really bringing it out, and Pat's saying, "Governor had some sick kills tonight. Dude was on fire. NBA jam hot." And all I could think the whole time, especially because he like ripped into one of the walkers' throats
it's
and
like
pulled it out.
jugular,
I was
man.
thinking like Mortal Kombat fatality
Yeah.
style there. I was like, fatality.
And it was nice and slow too.
Finish
They
him.
showed everything coming on the fingers.
And that
too.
last one with that
Special
big,
code for
that
it.
bone, that femur that he puts in the mouth, and he just rips off
rips
the
it out,
back of the head that way.
Every time they rip a jaw, I just feel like I want to check mine and
I know.
make sure it's
I know, right?
okay.
But the big thing is Megan, who saw him go crazy on her grandfather before, has nowhere to really hide.
Right.
She's
She's
stuck
like
in this
in the middle of
trench
everything.
and has to see and sees him totally go crazy all over these zombies. But I think she realizes that he's saving her. So that ends up being like his, yes, he's a monster, but he's my monster type moment. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, and but I mean, again, he's a monster, but in the same way, he's protecting her from these monsters. I mean, these walkers to her have got to be like monsters. I mean, think about when you were a kid and you watch a show like this, and you would pee your pants in bed and not be able to sleep and have to have your dad come and sleep next to you. And this wasn't my childhood at all.
This was yesterday. It's all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it wasn't my childhood. That's what's happening tonight.
This was happening to you last Sunday after last Sunday's
after
episode.
last Sunday's episode.
Yeah, it was really awkward since you guys weren't here.
I was just bawling in the corner here because I didn't have you strong men in my life to protect me
okay,
from the
Dave.
walkers.
Nice.
As Nando says, I just need the man in my life.
Just keep coming back to that.
Oh boy.
So, after he finishes ripping apart and protecting her and promising her that he'll take care of her, and the obvious correlation to Penny here, Martinez sees him, and what the F. Martinez is there, sees him. So what a fun guy who I'm sure the governor is hoping to run into at this point.
Right.
Though now that he has a little girl with him, it'll be interesting to see how they all come together, or if they ditch him. I doubt they'll ditch him in the middle of the night. I think that's somebody that'll their group will start to get a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking in the sense of right now he's trying to change his identity and become a different person. So Martinez knows who he was in the past, and he's trying to live this whole different life as someone else.
Yeah.
So this is going to bring back who he was, and I'm sure there's going to be some conflict where Martinez references things that the governor did.
Well,
and he's not going
once
to
he
want
calls
them
him
to know.
Philip or governor,
Right, or
instead of
anything like
Brian.
that.
Well, that'll be part of the predictions because.
Hopefully he just calls him governor, not Philip. Although it didn't seem like a lot of people knew his name was Philip. I would imagine Martinez.
I think Martinez was one of the few.
Martinez
I think
was
he
one of the
did.
few, yeah.
He was one of the trusted insiders.
He was the inside.
But you would think that would be the first name he would call him is governor. That seemed to resonate more with everybody.
Yeah.
I'm already going to go ahead and make an early prediction that Martinez is going to get killed by the governor. I mean, he's not going to want these things revealed.
Yeah, I can see that totally. Liar!
And now that he, with the preview, we saw that he's sort of taken on a new leadership within himself, Martinez.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Can't be two leaders.
So, yeah. But that kind of wrapped up this episode was that moment. So let's go ahead and talk about some news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Ladies first.
Oh, thank you. So I'm not sure if you guys heard, but the Walking Dead spin-off that they've had might actually be a prequel. And TV Line was the one that kind of broke this, that it could be a prequel of sorts, one that would chronicle the early days of the epidemic and the effort to contain it. However, as a get out clause, it is also said that nothing is set in stone, as the project is still in very early stages. But Kirkman revealed to IGN that the companion series will consist of an entirely new cast of characters separate from the comic book series. And it won't be set in Georgia either. He wants to keep it very different because if it was doing the same thing, he's like, if we do the same thing, we've all sold out.
Yeah.
So he definitely wants to keep it fresh.
That's
I think
good.
it'd be fun if it was a prequel because I think there's so many questions. We wake up with Rick and just the world is gone, basically, as we know it. And I think that would be an interesting.
I think a prequel would be
chaos.
interesting.
And then this is supposed to come out in 2015, right? Is that?
I believe that's what we were
Or maybe even something like way far in the future. I mean, the one thing that scares me about doing it in a different city is I don't want it to turn into like CSI Miami, CSI, like Walking Dead New
Right,
York,
yeah.
Walking Dead
Yeah, it's like all
San
these different
Francisco.
franchises, right.
Yeah, like a different city or something like that. So there's
Some
gotta be
exec
enough
is
there.
hearing this right now and thinking, that's brilliant!
That's brilliant.
Right.
I want 10%. I want
Right.
10%. That's all I ask.
Get your percentage.
10%.
There,
And I think if they made it in the future, the problem would be that depending on how long this Walking Dead goes, then you have to pair it up with the other series and kind of create it that way.
Well, do you think this spinoff is like kind of the transition from the end coming to the Walking Dead episodes, or
Yeah, probably.
you think?
So,
I think that would be a fun idea.
So Brett Henry on the chat saying he doesn't want a prequel. I don't know. I guess and Tangy D saying I want them to focus on the characters they have. I mean, I'm sure they will focus on the characters they have for this show.
Yeah.
I mean, for the prequel though, I think there's doing something totally different.
Well,
just
it's
like,
interesting.
Just like the Walking Dead game, just like the Walking Dead comics are now at this point pretty different. And the Walking Dead spin-offs that we see online.
Yes.
So I was gonna say it is interesting that you say that though, because I mean we didn't see any of the regular cast in this one, obviously, and
That's
it
true.
doesn't look like, according to the previews for next week, it looks like they're continuing with the governor storyline.
Yeah.
So it'll be 2 weeks in a row at this point where we don't get to see Rick in the company in the prison.
Yeah.
So you could conveniently have two shows.
shows at the same
I'm sure
time.
it'd be a lot of interesting. I mean, this show was a little subpar in my opinion, but I'm sure there's a lot of interesting stuff you could do with the governor and his crew.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we'll see. We also have Think Geek has released the Walking Dead edition of Monopoly for all you Monopoly fans out there. I want to pick it up. The Monopoly.
Go ahead. Go
The
ahead.
Monopoly Dead delivers classic Monopoly wheeling and dealing gameplay. Players vie for and then must fortify the prime real estate and resources that will sustain their lives. There's only one victor that will outlast the others. This is completely customized game featuring 6 collectible tokens.
Now my thought and my wonder is what's going to be the boardwalk and what's going to be the park place.
Probably Woodbury,
Woodbury
in
in
the
the prison?
prison.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll be
that
in
makes
the
the most
prison.
sense.
I think
Because
that's
once you
kind
have
of-
them both, you're set.
Well,
Right.
and then like it's probably going to be like Michonne's katana sword. It sounds like, and maybe Daryl's.
That would be a place that you
bow.
buy.
Well, because it said you were going to buy
Yeah.
objects, right? Basically,
Yeah.
is what you just said.
Yeah. You're going to buy, yeah, it says you're going to,
Things
so
for your
weird.
survival.
yep, exactly.
So you probably, do you switch that? I think that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. I'm going to pick it up.
Interesting.
Could pick up an eye
Play it. We'll
patch.
play
Just
it
kidding.
during our episode.
That would be like eye patch would be like the very first spot on Monopoly. You got an eye patch, congratulations. But yeah, actually, I could see that though. Woodbury, I would think Woodbury would be like the boardwalk, but do you guys think prison would be? Because maybe prison's more safe. Woodbury's nicer.
Woodbury's nicer.
Not anymore.
That's true.
And
Oh yeah,
like-
something we didn't mention too. The governor burnt down all of Woodbury. That's something we
did.
forgot to mention.
Yeah.
So
That was a cool shot.
Peace out, Woodbury.
Peace out, Woodbury.
That's kind of sad though, because there's probably a lot of people who, I mean, what if someone like found this city and it seemed like this amazing haven that was left?
Yeah, the
But it
prison
still was-
group could almost move in. And it's a bit nice.
Or just even any other random person like traveler could find, and it just would be like a cool safe haven. But he just ruined that for everybody.
But it still symbolizes back to the fire usage in that, and then the fire usage with the picture.
Yeah,
It's-
that's a good
it's
point.
Yeah.
Former life. You know?
Yeah.
Burning bridges.
Burning
Point.
bridges.
Good point.
Great point. So on to some comments from you guys. On YouTube, Alexandrine Sybil, and kind of what we were saying is how interesting it would be if the governor ends up joining the people of the prison. I know, not that interesting. That was how she followed that, but I'm actually starting to think that could be the case. That, or at least he'll want to, and we'll come to that during predictions.
Yeah.
Jaguar on YouTube saying on Carole, when we're talking about Carole from a couple weeks ago, shocking how some people would let her off the hook and bring her back. Since when is cold-blooded murder okay? She's just as bad as Shane and the governor. I think that, yeah, I mean, in a sense, she kind of is acting like Shane. I do see a Shane correlation with her in a sense, because she's just trying to do the harsh reality of what's best for the group. I can kind of see that. I don't think the governor, though. But on iTunes, 7 Nano saying, I have a feeling Maggie is going to get pregnant very soon since they brought it up, and it will cause a rift in her relationship with Glenn. Well, not next episode would look like, but I could see her getting pregnant. I don't know if it would cause a rift with her and Glenn, though. I think Glenn would be supportive in my mind. But, yeah. So with that said, Kristin's game.
All right, so here were the trivia winners from last week, and the question last week was, in keeping terms with the governor, Dallas Roberts, who played Milton, also starred in what AMC television series? And it was Rubicon. So thanks for you guys for all the answers. We always get so many answers. I feel bad only picking 5. But our winners for this week were Aaron Miller, Tiara Thomas, Epic TV 7, and I believe this is the 3rd time. So you can only be entered 3 times to try to get more people to come in that way. Brent William Henry and Splendid Serenade. So this week's question, I'm going to, even though we didn't see the prison group, I'm going to take it back to them. In Season 3, Episode 1, The Seed, what is the title of the song Beth and Maggie sing? And if you know the answer, first 5 people on YouTube, just comment on there. It usually gets put up.
And it says Maggie sung it, you should know it.
I hope Dave.
Yes, Dave, we know you're
Dave's
going to
be on there writing.
I have the answer. I'll be the first one to comment. I want to win. So
We got the Monopoly
we
board.
actually have the Monopoly board
Yeah.
thanks to Owen Harper on the chat.
Yeah.
So it's actually those
The comic
the
book.
katana and all that stuff
Yeah.
are actually the pieces you play as.
Oh.
So that the katana and all that's the piece that you play as on the board. And then
This is a
we're not gonna
Monopoly. We're not going to reveal too much, I guess, but the Monopoly board really is from the comic book.
yeah, so we're not going to reveal the locations because it
So-
looks like a boardwalk and all that are locations.
They take place
That
in
we
the
don't wanna talk
future
about.
if this follows what the comic book is, which it hasn't been so far. But
Yeah.
let's just say it's 2 places that are current in the comic book
But
right
yeah,
now.
The Walking Dead Monopoly is a comic book reference for all that. So thank you, Owen Harper, for sharing that and letting us all know so we can inform everyone else. So there we go.
There you go.
Thank you, Owen Harper. So with that said, let's go ahead and cut to some predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So I guess I'll go ahead and jump on and start because this is something I've been saying since the beginning. Was it seems to me like the governor, when we see him at the end of last episode, he seemed like he was just staring at them, not angry to me. He just looked staring in kind of a lost way. So I almost wonder if he continues to have with him Lizzie, and he's trying to be this new person.
Or-
not Lizzie, sorry. Well, maybe Lizzie, but
He'll
Megan.
take Lizzie too.
But yeah.
All the children.
All the kids. He has so many kids now. Megan. So if he ends up having Megan with him and this whole sort of family now, I could almost see him wanting to join the prison and think of it as being a safe, good place for her and wanting to protect her because that's his thing now is he wants to promise to protect her. And it's almost like a second chance of having a kid because he lost Penny and now this is his chance to have a do-over and do a better job with it. So in my mind, I almost see that as a very plausible possibility after this episode. And that's sort of what my feelings are. What about you guys?
I'm going to go with
The phone agrees with you.
Yeah, the phone agrees with you.
Yeah,
yeah,
Go
good
ahead.
job.
You go ahead. You go, Kristin.
I don't know if this is exactly a prediction, but something I would find interesting is if somehow things go poorly in the next episode with him joining Martinez's group, and he takes Megan with him and kind of escapes from this group and tries to hide out at the prison, maybe with her. Maybe something happens to Lily, and now he feels like her official protector, or just takes her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's going to be just the two of them. I don't know how long. Although I think like Alana
I definitely see
Masterson signed on
Tara,
for
I think, could go down.
I think they're signed on
she
for
already
a
heard her
little
leg.
bit, but I'm
Are
not
they?
entirely sure about that. But yeah, I feel like he's going to end up with Megan on the run or something weird like that.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my prediction from earlier. I think the governor is going to take down Martinez. I think there's going to be some conflict there because there's going to be too much revealed about him and the things that he doesn't want to show to Tara and Lily and his newfound daughter, possibly.
Penny 2.0.
Penny 2.0.
I mean, as far as I feel that Tara and Lily are definitely not long for this world, and that Governor will probably end up with Megan. I'm really curious to see also if he could cohabitate with Rick and the prisoners, if he ended up going back there, even like if he got rehabilitated somehow. Like we're seeing a little bit of a redemption with him. Yeah. So I'm really curious, but I really think that they're just. It's kind of like the chessboard. They're two kings. You never see the two kings on the same side.
Yeah, and I feel like there's too much hate.
Yeah, there's still too much. I mean, I think it would be an interesting. It could happen. I feel like sometimes the show does give you a little bit of a what if. Like, what if things from the comic book were different? What if the governor ended up friending Rick? So I really would like to see what happens there. So I'm hoping for it, but I don't think it would last.
I mean, I don't know if he'll necessarily do it per se, like it'll work out. But I just think he will want to. I can see that being a motivation of his and a desire of his is to try and make up. And a lot of people in the chat saying like, Tandy, I don't find it possible if everyone wants him dead. Liz saying there's just no way it would ever happen. And Tangy again, if it did, I call shenanigans. Shenanigans. But I mean, I see it as being a very possible arc for him wanting to do that, because I think to him it's a redemption. He wants to have a chance to protect, because he couldn't with Penny. This is a chance for him to try and keep this new daughter safe.
But I think the one thing to remember is he could always snap at any moment, just like he did with the grandfather.
Well, I'm sure the group's going to be contemplating, be like, I don't know, definitely don't want him on board, especially the Woodbury people are still alive too.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think they're at all going to want anything to do with him, but I see him wanting that. That's, at least I see that. But I could be totally wrong, so we'll see what happens.
I don't think he could send off quite as nicely as Carole did.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week. So once again, please do rate us, comment, positive or negative, on iTunes and YouTube. If you rate us negatively, please let us know what you didn't like so we know how to fix it and make it better. And guys, once again, I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @TheDaveKlein. That is Klein.
I'm Nando Velasquez. You can call me on Twitter. You can call me on Twitter.
Wow,
call me. Just call me on the phone.
That's a new Twitter.
Yeah, it's a new Twitter. Nandovel, Nandovel, and also here for Homeland and the Blacklist.
I
Yeah,
just typed
Dave's
in
calling me right now.
Hey, what's up,
He's
Nando
calling right now.
Hey man, how you doing? What's up?
I'm Derrial Christon. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, but you cannot call me on Twitter at DerrialChriston.
Fine, I didn't want to call you on Twitter anyway.
And I'm Kristin Carole. You can find me on Twitter at KristinCarole13, and I'm also on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
All right, guys. We'll call you later. Oh, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.